begins the dialogue, and God ends the dialogue. God begins, he draws us into his inner life, and he brings everything to perfect fulfillment. So when we talk about prayer, we're helping to make sure that our relationship with God is in order. We're most familiar with prayer. Then we have fasting. Whereas prayer focuses on our relationship with Almighty God, fasting refers to our relationship to ourselves. To fast means to bring to mind the fact that we are ultimately here to have union with God. We are here to be saints. And that is the things around us, whether it be food, wonderful food here tonight, whether it be things, these things are often good. But when we start to have an attachment, an excessive attachment, excessive reliance on created things, we have a problem. Because they weigh us down and prevent us from seeing our supernatural end with God. When we fast, when we deny ourselves that dessert during Lent, those desserts, or those cheeseburgers, or those trips to the movies, or the Nintendo Wii. My kids love that. Okay, I do too. And you name it. When we fast from these things, what we're really saying is the concerns of the soul are more important than the concerns of the body, as good as they are. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of the body. But we think of the example of Jesus. He fasted for 40 days and nights, eating nothing, we're told in the Gospels. Well, isn't it good to eat? Sure it is. But it's better to fast for the supernatural reason. Okay? I mean, we fast from things that are good. If the thing's not good, I hate to break it to you, but there's no merit in you fasting. You have an obligation to fast from it if it's not good, meaning if it's immoral. If something's immoral, you can't give that up for Lent. You already should have given that up a long time ago. But we fast from things precisely because they're good, but they're not sufficient for our salvation, to help us with our salvation, and they can be roadblocks, they can be stumbling blocks. So fasting helps us to have a healthy relationship with ourselves, to know ourselves, namely, to know ourselves as we stand before Almighty God. Without all the busyness in the world of the beepers and the cell phones and the internet and the movies and the television and the advertisements and everything else I left out, which is a lot. Right? And finally, we have almsgiving. To give alms is to give either materially or spiritually to the poor, to those in need. And it's very important. You know, there's really no charity in giving of your excess. The charity, the sacrifice, is in giving from what you have, right? God doesn't call us to simply give of our excess. Let me think about that. What merit is there in giving of your abundance? We are called to give from the little that we have, whether it be spiritual or material. And so when we give to the poor, when we give to the needy, we are understanding that we are church. That is the people of God. Not to heaven with me and hell with thee, right? We together are called to salvation. So we have to be solicitous for the Christ in the other. You know, there's in the New Testament, I believe it's St. John, who tells us in one of his epistles, he says, I'm going to paraphrase him, he says, if you can't love the brother whom you do see, then don't tell me you can possibly love the God whom you do not see. So we have to love one another in order for us to truly manifest the love of God. And through a true love of God, we're going to be animated through penance, through the power of the Eucharist, to love one another. And so reflection on this point, which we'll conclude with, and then I'll take questions on anything I've said. May we make it a priority this Lent to make time. Because I'll find it, I don't have time. Well, for important things in life, you got to make time. Because you're never going to find time. You've got to make time. So may we make it a priority this Lent to make time for sincere prayer, for earnest fasting, and to cultivate a genuine sense of sacrifice by giving to the poor, both spiritually and financially. Thank you. Okay, so we have a few minutes remaining. Either questions questions on the last segment, or questions on anything, or questions on putting it all together. If anything's not clear, if you don't see how it relates to Lent, please let me know. And in a way, what we are going to enter in Lent really should help set a rhythm. So when Lent's over, we keep going, right? So let Lent be that door, that once we open that door, that we continue. You know, St. Francis de Sales once said that the spiritual life, you're either going up or you're going down. There's no such thing as staying static. If you're not going up, you're necessarily going down. Okay? And so in our lives, as we prepare for Lent, may we consider this to be a way to train ourselves in the practice, the exercise of virtue, penance, of prayer. And may we continue to carry that through us past Lent for the rest of our lives. This is the rhythm that the Church is trying to get us into in this liturgical season. Okay. Questions, comments?
A lot of food for thought.
A lot of food for thought.
Your
Okay.
food.
Okay.
Your time.
God's food, right. Okay. Oh, okay.
Giving to the poor spiritually, what exactly does that mean to you, or does that mean to the Church?
Good question. The question is, what about giving to the poor spiritually? How does that work? Giving to the poor spiritually, we can expand that umbrella. It can refer to social outreach. It could, I mean, these would actually be physical works of mercy, but when I'm referring to giving to the poor financially or spiritually, my main focus there is financially or non-financially, right? So part of this, you have the spiritual works of mercy. You also have the corporal works of mercy. And these so for example, in the case of a spiritual sense, to pray for the poor. You know, not just poor by way of resources, but maybe poor by way of them trying to find the Lord. I mean, Christ, says, blessed are the poor in spirit. That's a good kind of poor. But there's also the other kind of poor, the abject type of poor, that we can pray for those who are in this situation. And, even spiritually, what comes to my mind is those who have died. Okay? We have, in my family, gotten to the practice with every meal that we say our grace, we conclude our grace with a prayer for the souls of the faithful departed. The poor ones who might not have anyone to pray for them, for whom we can gain indulgences. That could be a talk for another time about what that's all about. We can have masses offered for the deceased, for the poor, for those that we might not even know. We can be involved with works of mercy to see Christ in the other, and of course spiritually by way of sincere prayer for those, even the ones that we don't know. So those would be some ways of looking at that. Okay, so especially as Catholic social teaching and works of mercy, there's a lot we can do to help the poor, both materially, but also in non-material ways, whether it be spiritual in the sense of praying, or spiritual in the sense of devoting our, Paul says to make of your bodies, I think it's chapter 12 of Romans, make of your bodies a living sacrifice to God, a spiritual sacrifice. But part of the way of offering a spiritual sacrifice could be doing these very works of mercy, to be doing things for the poor, for the needy, for those who have little. Does that help? Okay. Anyone else? Before I let you go on continue your meals and listen for the parade about to come in, the wonderful children. Okay, well thank you everybody for your attention this evening. Next month, the talk is going to be on St. Joseph, the forgotten saint. So hopefully you'll come back and we'll talk about St. Joseph next week.